Hi, I know you've seen lots of reviews already of the Sony ZV-1. I thought I'd do one from the point of view of a non-technical user who's trying to build a creative blog. I paint oil paintings, who wants to make some videos for YouTube and so on, just to boost his traffic and, you know, get a little bit of interest going. And well, here is the Sony ZV-1. The first thing you see about the Sony ZV-1 is what a small camera it is. It's very light, and you know, you can easily carry this around in your pocket. So it's a great travel camera. Now, the lens is in this metal housing here, and if I just activate the camera by bringing out the fully articulating LCD, you can see that the lens pops out, and it's a 26 to 60mm lens, I think, which is not a bad range for a general purpose channel. Okay, so you can see that the screen's actually quite good quality, and it's easy to see your aperture, your shutter speed, and the ISO that's being used in the camera. Also, you can see volume as well, the stereo volume that's being captured by the camera. So pretty useful. And when you put the screen away, like so, the actual LCD part is inwards, so it doesn't get scratched if you do put it in your pocket, which is quite nice. Now, the camera doesn't come with this little strap. I had to buy this little strap on Amazon for about £5, which would be about $7 US or something. So I think it's well worth buying a little strap like this for it, because it's so small and light you could easily drop it. Now, although, as I said, the metal lens housing here is fairly solidly built, the rest of it's of the standard, made of the standard plastic that you find now with many cameras, except the professional ones. So if you did drop it, you could have an expensive repair bill or even a write-off job. Okay. So if we look at the controls on the top of the camera, you can see there you've got here a Hotshoe. Now, this is a clever Hotshoe by Sony. You can put one of their microphones into it, and you don't need a lead to the camera's microphone jack, which is quite clever. You can also put one of Sony's clever flashes in the camera as well, so you can do quite a lot with a Hotshoe. Now here you've got this red button, which is the video button. Here you have a shutter button which takes conventional photographs, and just here is a little zoom lever, telephoto wide angle. You've also got this button here. Now what this does is it blurs the background for you, which is really useful if you want to be vlogging and you just want to concentrate on your face without seeing much detail in the background. Now, this grill here conceals some, I understand, 3 small cardioid microphones which face in a number of different directions, and Sony say that you don't actually need an external microphone with this, because the microphones are good enough, and you'll soon be able to judge this for yourself. Now, obviously, for obvious reasons, this part of the video is filmed on my iPhone XR, because I'm actually, you know, I can't use the Sony ZV-1 while I'm actually taking video of it, but we'll soon start using the camera, so you'll be able to see how it looks for yourself. Now, on the bottom there, you've got the standard tripod mount. Then you've got the battery compartment. You can see the grip here is quite nice for such a small camera. Now, in order to open the battery compartment, you have to, just let me find it here, you have to throw a little switch and then it springs open, and then there's another little piece of blue plastic here which keeps the battery in place. You move that out the way and out comes the battery, and there's the Sony ZV-1 battery. Now, I've owned Canon cameras, I've owned Panasonic cameras, I've owned Nikon cameras, and my father owned Minolta cameras, may rest in peace, and I can say that that is one of the smallest camera batteries I've yet to see. And so people do say that the battery life of the Sony ZV-1 is somewhat challenged, and I think we'll find that that is true. Okay, so I'm just going to put the battery back in, just fit it in there. It's quite a fiddly job putting the battery in. There we go. Incidentally, you can buy batteries for the Sony ZV-1 which are of quite a bit higher capacity than this. I think I've seen one on Amazon which was 1600 mAh. I think that's the highest I've seen. So you could get a battery, you know, that will stretch out your battery life. You notice when the lens is retracted, you get this nice little cover here which protects the lens. It reminds me of the old Sony camcorders which used to have this, and it does a, you know, it does a great job of protecting the lens. Now, if I look over to the other side of the camera here, you'll see that there are three little ports which are quite fiddly to open. You just have to, you need fingernails with this camera, you really do. Okay, so here, if you can just see that, you've got the microphone in jack, pretty much an essential for any decent vlogging camera, because you will want to use external mics for some things. Here you've got a USB micro charger. A lot of people have said, you know, they'd sooner have a USB-C charger there, which is the way things are going in this day and age. So that's a minus for many people. And then finally, you've got like a mini HDMI out. Some people have said they'd rather have a full HDMI socket there, but on such a small camera, I don't know if that's really necessary. And indeed, you could quite happily use the small HDMI connector there. Okay, so those are the three little sockets there. You notice at the back here, you've got the standard Sony dial. So I've also owned one of those Sony mirrorless cameras that took the Sony lenses. I think mine might have been an X3, which I sold, and that's a different story. So there you've got the standard wheel that takes you through the standard Sony system of menus, and it's got all the menus options you'd reasonably expect on I think it's a premium camera. You've got aperture priority, shutter priority, programmatic mode, manual mode, and of course a whole bunch of scene modes for taking photos and so on. You've also got settings going from standard definition video through high definition to 4K. And then a few other things like setting self-timer, that kind of thing. And you can also choose some profiles for video and photographs as well. So they're pretty much the usual menu system that you see on Sony's decent cameras. You've also got a little button here to play back your videos and photos on the spot, delete them, and then a programmable function button, and then a menu button there to get into the camera's menus. There's no viewfinder with this camera. It's a mirrorless camera, obviously, but it also does not have an electronic viewfinder. Okay, now in sunlight, the LCD can be difficult to see. So if you are planning on making a lot of films in very bright sunlight, if you're planning on taking this to the Sahara Desert, you might struggle. Otherwise, hell, I think it's a great little camera for travel, for vlogging, for just general convenience, and it works really well out of the box. So if you want a camera that just points and shoots, I think this is a great little camera. Now, one thing I want to show you is that when you actually open the articulated screen, as you've seen, the lens pops out. You've then got your vlogging screen, so you can see what you're doing. But if I just push this button to start taking a video, you'll see that a red light comes on, and when you're vlogging and looking at the camera, you can see if you're actually recording. That's a really nice feature, and it's not present on all cameras which are supposedly designed for vlogging. Okay, so here we go. See there's the LED. It's actually bright red, but on my iPhone XR it's showing up as yellow or orange. Okay, so basically when the light's on, you know that you're recording. There we go. So the rest of this video is going to be filmed on the Sony ZV-1 itself. Okay, so we're now filming on the Sony ZV-1 itself, and I'm actually holding the camera in my hand as far as I can, and my arms are of about average length. I'm using the microphones built into the camera. One nice feature of the Sony is while you're actually recording, you can see a red light, quite bright LED light, and that tells you that you're recording. You don't always get that on cameras. It's also very easy to operate the video button while you're holding the camera in one hand. When I look over to the touch screen, I can see, as I said before, my aperture, my shutter speed. I can see what mode it's in. It's telling me now it's in portrait mode. I can see a histogram, and I can see that the ISO is auto, and I can also see the volume of left and right stereo recording, which is quite a nice touch, although that would be difficult to see from a long way away. But on the whole, you can see that Sony have really made the effort to make this camera a good camera for vlogging, definitely. I'm already thinking, well, this is a great camera for people who just want to, create easily, simply, and get something decent. In case you're wondering, no one is actually paying me to do this review. I'm just doing it really for the fun of it. If Sony do want to pay me, say, $1 million US, they can certainly have my bank account number. I'm not getting my hopes up on that. Anyway, here we are putting the little dead cat into the Hotshoe. Now you can see it sits quite nicely. It does cover up some of the button a little bit here, but it also feels like a dead cat as well, so I hope it was sustainably sourced, is all I can say. Let me introduce you to a new friend. I also bought a Manfrotto Pixie Evo mini tripod to go with this camera, and I already like this tripod. You can see it's stoutly built, and you press these buttons here and the legs extend out a little bit more, although it's not obviously a full-size tripod, and it has a ball here which is controlled by this switch, and so you can move the ball about, and of course there on top is where you screw in your camera to the tripod mount. But the wonderful thing about this tripod, as you can see, is it either opens up as a tripod, a small tripod, like so. If I just put it down there on my carpet, you can see there it is as a small tripod. But you can also just quite easily make it into something to hold a vlogging camera, and so that gives you a bit more distance between yourself and the camera when you're vlogging. So I'm just going to put the camera on it now. Okay, so now I have the camera mounted on the Manfrotto mini tripod, and that gives me an extra 6 inches to hold the camera out. And this little Manfrotto tripod is not very heavy either, so you can quite easily hold this for an extended period of time if you wanted to, you know, do what vloggers do and just walk around and you know, vlog. So it's a pretty nice accessory to have. Some reviewers on the internet have said that the wide angle of the ZV-1 is not really wide enough for vlogging, but when I move the camera a little bit to the side here, there's plenty of room there for me to be a sort of talking head and to get something else in if I was talking about, say, a building or a painting or something. There's plenty of room there, especially with the small tripod, to actually talk to camera and get in quite a decent field of view. So I think the lens is wide enough for vlogging, personally. One criticism of some vlogging cameras, especially the ones made by Panasonic, is that they struggle a bit with their autofocus, their contrast based autofocus. So let's see how the Sony ZV-1 handles sudden changes to its autofocus. If I put my hand in the way, let's see, it's gone into macro mode. I'm just looking over at the little screen, it's showing the macro symbol. I take my hand away and it seems, looking at the little screen, it seems to have gone into portrait mode. So it's autofocus so far seems to be handling things quite well. Now let's do a little turn around in the room. Now we've got the light in the background. If I look over at the little screen, it does look as if it's handling the contrast quite well. My face looks okay. And let me turn around going this way. Let's see if it handles the turning around in the room. It seems to be. Now we've got the bookcase in the background. How's it doing with the bookcase? It looks as if it's doing okay. So one thing that everyone says about this camera is that the autofocus on it is top notch, and in fact that's down to Sony's autofocus systems, which are apparently very good. We're now in one of the rooms of my house which is not particularly well lit. It has this window which is just behind me here, that's the only window. So let's see how the camera handles as I rotate in the middle of this slightly dimly lit room, and how it handles the background. If I stay in focus, if I go out of focus, am I moving and jittering around, and is the camera handling the varying light? So here we've got the window in the background, and then we go back to not having the window in the background. How's it coping with that? As far as I could see from the viewer, from the little screen, it's handling it quite well. Well, as you can see, I am a creator and I paint pictures, and the reason why I got the ZV-1 was to be able to easily and quickly create videos of what I'm doing when I'm out and about and so on, to try and build a little bit of traffic to my website and my YouTube channel. So pretty much the use case for which the Sony ZV-1 was actually designed. I'm now going to take some photographs in my studio of various items and post them right now so you can see what capabilities the camera has. That's the stills camera in the Sony ZV-1. Well, it's an English summer's afternoon, late afternoon, and there is quite a breeze behind me, so I've put the dead cat on to see if I can actually catch the breeze and to see if you can actually hear anything. So here we are, slight breeze, dead cat on. And here we are, slight breeze, dead cat off. So obviously I can't tell at this point if you can hear anything, but that was quite a decent gust that just went past. Now the Sony ZV-1 has stabilization built into the body, so I'm now going to walk around with the stabilization on to see how it looks. And there are insects landing on the camera. It's obviously quite popular with insects. So now I just come around here and hope the stabilization is not making me jerk about too much. Oops, I lost my balance there. And we come up now onto the patio, and so judge for yourself if the stabilization worked. It looks pretty good in the viewfinder when I had a glance. What I'm going to do now is a test of the zoom on the camera. Zoom in then zoom out to see how smooth it is and to see if we can hear the zoom in the camera itself. So here goes. Nice and smooth zoom. I can't hear anything from where I am. It'll only become clear when we actually put the video on a computer whether there was any sound there. So we're now zoomed in as much as we can, and so those flowers are about 3 feet away, so that's the maximum zoom. So we now zoom out like so, nice and smooth the zoom. Maybe not very quick if you wanted to zoom in and out quickly, but certainly very smooth, and the focus looked okay as well. So the next test is to see how far the microphones pick me up, see what kind of range they have. So I'm just going to back off now and continue to talk while I back off. I'm now about 4 feet away from the camera. It's on the mini tripod. So here we go. Going further back, about 6 feet away now. about 15 feet away. About 20 feet away. Incidentally, this camera, one of the major reasons I bought it is because it supports uncropped 4K, and I think that goes up to 30 frames per second, which is as much as I'm going to reasonably need in the foreseeable future. But it also, of course, does 1080 high definition, 720 high definition. I think it also does something like 480 low definition, I think, but I'm not really interested in those. Certainly though, it also has some high speed options in high definition, although it won't go any higher than 30 frames per second in 4K, but I don't need that. I don't need slow motion 4K. With it being so small and light, you can actually hold it in some unusual positions. So right now, of course, I'm looking down at the camera, and there's this rowan tree above me in my garden. So I think you can get some good shots on account of the camera being so small, and it's also quite inconspicuous if you wanted to be making a video, or indeed taking photographs without attracting too much attention. One thing you can do with this camera is shoot log video. Now what this enables you to do is to shoot video in a special format, and you can then post-process the video to give it all sorts of colour profiles, and you can do this with free software such as Shotcut, which I'll be using to edit this video, and you can get some really nice effects with some really fantastic lookup tables, or LUTs as they're called, which you can import into Shotcut, and with the log video from the ZV-1 you can give your videos a cinematic colour scheme, you know, a warm colour scheme, a slightly cooler colour scheme. There's all sorts of powerful things you can do post-production with the output from this little camera. I hope you've enjoyed my short. Well, I intended it to be short. It's actually come out at 25 minutes. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my look at the Sony ZV-1. I know there's a lot that I haven't covered, but I just thought I would give it a review from the point of view of people who just want to unbox it, point it, click it, and make some videos or whatever. So I hope you've found my review to be useful. Ciao.